In this video, we will be discussing the changes in length during muscle contraction and open and closed kinetic chain movement. The movement of a muscle during contraction can be classified by the type of motion that is occurring and the associated change in muscle length during contraction. During contraction, there are three types of changes in muscle length: concentric, eccentric, or isometric. In concentric action, where the muscle shortens, you are resisting gravity. The muscle produces force that is greater than the resistance, creating a desired movement at the joint. You will notice in the upward phase that her muscle shortens. This shows that there's a greater amount of force acting at the joint and resisting gravity. As Jessie demonstrates in the downward phase of the bicep curl, you will notice that the bicep lengthens, producing enough force to slow down the movement as she lowers towards the ground. In isometric contraction, there is no change in muscle length. The muscle produces equal force and resistance so that no movement occurs at the joint. If Jessie holds the bicep curl at a 90-degree angle, you will see that there is no change in muscle length. For optimal performance in movement, muscles work to produce force while simultaneously stabilizing the joint. Movements performed during exercise are described as open or closed kinetic chain movements. In closed kinetic chain movements, the distal ends of the limb, that is, the hands and the feet, are in a fixed position, emphasizing joint compression as your limbs push and pull against a stable force or object, making the joint more stable. As Jessie demonstrates in her push-up, you will notice that her hands and feet are fixed against a stable surface as she pushes against the ground. In open chain kinetic movements, the distal ends are now moving freely as the exercise is performed. This creates more shearing forces at the joints, very similar to a pair of scissors cutting through paper, where each shear is moving in opposite direction as force acts upon that paper. During open kinetic chain movement, with the hands and feet freely moving, this makes the joint less stable and more susceptible to injury. You will see here as Jessie performs the bicep curl with two 10-pound dumbbells, her hands are freely moving as the movement is performed. Having an understanding of movements in the kinetic chain will allow you to provide safe and effective programming for your clients.